I am a huge fan of CSGO and other competitive FPS games, but the best way to really learn is to try different types of games so you can figure out different strategies and just overall become a better gamer. So today I tried a survival horror game for the first time, Sons of the Forest. It actually just launched yesterday, but the question is the game worth it? So when you first start up the game, you're in a helicopter just chilling with your homies, and it's definitely a really interesting way to start the game. Your whole goal is to try to find some people who are missing in the wilderness, and let's just say things didn't exactly go according to plan. So the helicopter goes down and it just crash lands in a random part of the map, which is definitely really interesting because every single time you play it, it's going to be a slightly different experience. Also, you have the option to either play single player or you can play with up to 8 of your friends in a private match or even a public match. Yeah, and low-key, you get kind of flung out of your helicopter and it almost crushes you. Yeah, that's a thing. And when you finally come to, this happens. So I guess you could say the hero, the main character, is not exactly having the best day. So you finally wake up again, and then you can actually start exploring. The first thing you want to do is grab as many supplies as you can. There's a bunch of crates you can open, and there's a lot of useful stuff. Plus, there's also this emergency pack you can open to get yourself an axe. And then once you have an axe, you can start cutting down trees, and then, start gathering sticks, rocks, and then you can make yourself a shelter. And yeah, apparently you're playing as the world's strongest man who can lift 2 logs and throw them like 50 feet in front of him. It's absurd, but it's honestly kind of useful. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the bag throwing mechanic in Payday 2. Just a word of warning though, make sure when you're cutting down trees, make sure it doesn't fall on anything that you've built because it can destroy your house. So I was playing with my friend Fossum and he was basically just focusing on building the shelter, and I was just kind of exploring and just grabbing whatever I could. And I came across this really cool ice cave that actually had a lot of stuff in it. Most importantly, I found some vodka so I can make some Molotov cocktails to fight off whatever enemies I run into. I also got cloth, which is another piece of the puzzle that you really need to make those Molotovs. Overall, it's one of those games that rewards you for exploring. So essentially, if you've ever played the original Forest, this is basically that, but on a much larger scale, and there's so much more to do. You can even find or build yourself a 3D printer and 3D print whatever you want with resin. It's actually a really sick mechanic, and I can't wait to actually find one. However, this is just more of like a first impressions kind of like should you get it, just based off like the first 2 hours of gameplay. So I didn't really play a crazy amount, but if you guys like these kind of videos, I definitely want to do more of them. But regardless, I'm still going to play this in my own personal time, and maybe I'll stream it on Twitch. So when I finally got back to the camp, I was greeted by a giant pile of logs that I just kind of left on the ground. I mean, essentially, it's just a more realistic version of Minecraft where it's all about just scavenging whatever resources you can. Also, you need to make sure you eat, drink, and sleep in this game because if you don't, then you're not going to have a great time. So usually for food, you can go to the rivers, try to find some fish. You can try to find rabbits that are randomly running around. Speaking of which, here's a rabbit. To cook the meat, you can actually make yourself a campfire and make sure that you're watching the meat while it cooks because if it burns, then it's basically unsalvageable. Or if it's raw, it can make you sick or it's overall not going to be as effective at healing you or filling up your hunger bar. Overall, dealing with campfires in a snow biome is not ideal because the snow kind of covers it up and yeah, I had a really awkward moment. But overall, the beginning of the game is pretty simple. It's just cut down trees, grab resources, find animals to cook, grab yourself some food, and then explore. But once you have a pretty solid base to kind of fall back to, then exploring is the main part of the game. It's all about just going to different areas of the map, grabbing resources, grabbing more stuff, and there's some enemies you can actually run into and fight. Some of the most common enemies you run into are actually cannibals. And unless you have upgraded weapons or something that can take them out at a longer range, you're better off just kind of staying away from them for now and then worrying about them later. I mean, it's a lot easier to run from them than fight them and potentially get taken down. And also, when you're stuck in the middle of the forest in the middle of the night and then it starts storming, it gets a little spicy. So the best thing to do is just try to find your way back to camp, unless you have the resources to build like a little mini shelter just to survive the night. But luckily, we were able to find our way back pretty quickly before we froze. It's just so easy to get sucked into the ambience of everything because the game is just so well made and it's just what you would expect out of a game where you're starting with very little and it's survival horror. You have to survive as long as you can. You have a couple friends. It's great. And late at night when you finally get back to your camp, all you have to do is just go to sleep and wake up to a fresh new day. Oh yeah, also this game has some bots that can kind of go around and do stuff for you. It's actually really useful. But when the food's low and I see a rabbit, I just go for it. And that was the rabbit that got away. Rip. Psych! And I don't exactly feel great killing cute little bunnies, but I don't really have a choice because it's a survival game. It's either you eat the rabbit or you starve. By the way, it's super easy to make yourself a campfire. You just snap some sticks in half, throw them in a pile, and then light it with your basically torch taser thingy. I don't even know what it is, but it starts the fire and you can cook whatever you want. Also, when it's really cold, you need to stay warm. And when you're really bored, you can just scale an entire mountain in like 2 minutes flat. And the one game I could compare it to is definitely Skyrim, except in this game, it is so much easier to scale mountains. And then once you finally reach the summit, you're going to realize that you just wasted your time because there's nothing up here. It's just an empty, desolate wasteland of snow. I mean, sure, I probably didn't explore the area enough, but just from what I could see, there was literally just nothing up here. I thought there was going to be like an airplane or like a parachute or something cool for rewarding you for making it up to the top. But yeah, I guess this game is really trying to strive for realism. But my favorite part about the whole thing is just scaling down the mountain like you're literally on a giant slide, trying not to slip and fall all the way back down. The inventory system is on a completely different level. It actually, you open up a bag and then it actually shows everything that you have in your inventory right there. And it's just all integrated into the game itself, which is something that you don't really see too often. And pro tip, if you throw a Molotov into water, it's not going to detonate, so don't even waste it. A little bit later, I was just minding my business and then I saw a cannibal, so I just decided to run because I don't exactly have the best tools to deal with it at this point in the game. So yeah, running is the best option. Then when I got back to the base, I made myself a little rabbit trap and I wanted to do something nice for everyone, so I decided to build a log cabin. It's super easy. You just go into the build menu, select whatever you want to build, put it wherever you want, and then just start adding the materials. Building a log cabin is one of the most satisfying experiences one can have. There's something about working with your hands, connecting with nature, and creating something beautiful and functional that's deeply fulfilling. As you work on your log cabin, you'll get to experience the sense of accomplishment and process that comes with each step of the building process. Whether you're cutting logs, notching them, or stacking them. This is just from ChatGPT. I'm just trying to fill time, all right? But it's fun to build a log cabin, and then you have something at the end to kind of sleep in. Literally, that's what it's for. It's a house. And as I was building the log cabin, I got interrupted by a rude cannibal who just came in and tried to steal one of my logs. So I just grabbed the axe and I just started swinging. There's nothing worse than somebody who comes in and tries to ruin the log building experience. But overall, if you're into survival horror games that you can play with your friends, it's definitely a great game worth picking up. However, though, if you're just going to play it solo, it still can have its moments, of course, with the AI and all the new enhancements, but of course it is way better with friends. So it's a little pricey. It's like $30, $40 depending on the currency, but it is absolutely worth it if you're into these type of games. I mean, if you played the original Forest and liked it, chances are you're probably going to like this even more because there's so much more to do, so much more to see. So just from the short an hour and 40 minutes that I played, I would probably give it about an 80% on the Turbo Super Cool Speedometer. So overall, thank you guys so much for watching. Pick up the game if you want it, and let me know in the comments down below, what are your thoughts on this game? Have you played it? Do you want to get it? Or do you just not care? Also, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe, boys. It's Turbo, and I'm out. Peace.